From the combined crew of blindandroidusers.com and accessibleandroid.com, it's time for your favorite Android podcast. Kick back now and enjoy another fine episode from these fanboys and gals as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here's your crew.
Hello and welcome to episode 291 of the Blind Android Users podcast. I'm Ed Green and I'm joined today by John Dyer, Warren Carr and Sally Kunduz and a special guest who was a previous co-host, Yannick PLASSIARD. And we are coming to you on Saturday, July the 4th, 2026. We have an announcement section this week, followed by Android Basics, where we talk about Android17 QPR1 Beta6. In the Spotlight section, we then have Yannick talking about TalkForward screen reader, causing a lot of stir on the Android groups and a lot of positive feedback he's getting. And then we have an unboxing where Warren demonstrates Brite AI with a pair of their smart vision glasses. So I'm going to start with Yannick. I don't think we've had a co-host come back before. How are you and what have you been up to?
Yeah, thank you, guys. It's so nice to be back here. This time on the other side of the thing, but not as a co-host. But yeah, I was there like a few years back now as a co-host, and then unfortunately I have some personal things to deal with, which bring me far away from the Android world and far away from the podcasting things. But I was still developing things for companies, and we'll talk about it a little later on. But in early 2026, I started my self-employed company, in which, because I'm alone in this, I can decide what I want to do, and that's why I started to focus on developing accessibility software for everyone. So that's why here I am.
Nice. And I should say, and I'm going to make a lot out of this, as everyone who knows me will know, it is the 250th anniversary of tax evasion, isn't it? The Americans are celebrating their tax evasion. What confuses me about this a little bit, and I'm going to turn to John and Warren in a minute to explain it to me, is that there's apparently some sort of thing that on Times Square that ball drops, and it's going to drop 8 times for the US time zones. That is obviously more ball drops than a class of junior high students. But I'm confused because I saw that on Facebook there were 7 US time zones. Then I asked Gemini, because I was even more confused, there are 9 US time zones. And then if you don't count, if you do count uninhabited places, there are 11. So what is going on? Warren, you know about the US and the whole 250th thing. How many time zones do you have? Are you having fireworks? Are you having fun?
We took the UK over, hence the reason the confusion, Ed. So just to be sure, needed to help you clarify that. But really, to be serious, we're so excited about being 250 years. I mean, that's nothing to you guys. You guys, we call you the ancient ones there for a long time. But most especially, we're so thankful and to France, even though France is always led with them kisses, that, Statue of Liberty was supposed to be here 1776. Didn't come until 1786. So, plus here, you were a little tad late, but we're so thankful you helped us kick out the belly acres, and so we kicked it out.
John, perhaps you can answer sensibly. How many US time zones are there and how many balls are dropping in Times Square? I'm still very confused.
I don't know anything about Times Square. I know there are 4 main US time zones, like for the continental United States, and then I guess Hawaii has one and Alaska has one, or maybe Alaska has more than one. I don't know. That's as far as my
the
knowledge
Wake
goes.
Islands, all those South, whatever Pacific
Oh, okay, those
areas that
territories
we
that are not
have,
states,
territories
yeah.
that we have, and then of course, when you count the UK in there, we've taken
And
them
who knows?
over.
Trump might have counted the Greenland as a U.S.
So yeah, we got a bunch of those. It's hard to know.
No, well, we factor you in too, so that's fine. So we know it's tax evasion day, so that's good. Sally, restore some sanity. Wasn't it good to see Egypt beat Australia yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I felt so good about it. Yeah, congrats to Egypt for doing that and the penalties. That was exciting though, but yeah, real Australians did a lot of tactics, a lot of like changes to win the penalties, but when you think too much, you end up being nowhere. That's how the football is. And yeah, since if it's 4th of July, I still want to be the bad boy saying Happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day was 1st of July, obviously, and with my
Yeah,
Canadian
yeah.
wifey. Say hello, Gatorkins. Hi. There is
Hello,
an
Happy
actual
Canada
Canadian
Day.
Hey, yeah,
on the
baby
week of
girl,
Canada Day
happy
that you
anniversary
Happy
to
Canada
you,
Day.
or whatever,
Yeah.
Canada, whatever day, the
Nah,
51st
Canada
day.
Day. I did that. I did that last year, and I had really good reactions to that, and I would do the same again this year. Happy Canada Day.
Yeah, well, for me, 4th of July, and maybe throw in a little bit of Bastille in there because they are on our side, kicked out the Belly Acres.
Bastille Day is 14th of July, not the 4th, I think, isn't it, Yannick?
Yep, exactly.
So
Sunday.
10 days. So it's part of the celebration, right? So whichever way you count it, we're still celebrating that same month. And but most importantly, like I said, they helped us in kicking out the Belly Acres. I know Ed doesn't want to hear about it, but that's a simple truth. And now, the announcement segment. This is a segment dedicated to things we want you to be in the know. And now for this week's episode, here's your announcements.
And now we'll move to our announcement section. And Warren, I think we have a few, don't we?
We do have announcements, and of course, I want to talk about that third quarter open listener session and developer session coming up July the 25th. That would be the last Saturday of this month. So today is the first episode of July, and the last episode of July is when we have our third open listener session / developer session. So bring your friends, come along, and it's 9 a.m. Pacific time. I always cede it to Sally, of course, to talk about the different time zones that this translates to. Sally?
Absolutely. Get ready, guys. It's gonna be like no matter where in the world you are, just get ready for your time zones. It's gonna be like 4 p.m. in the UK. It's gonna be 6 in Central Europe, Spain, Holland, Belgium, France. It's gonna be 7 in Egypt. It's gonna be 6 in South Africa. It's gonna be midnight in China if you want to. If you're gonna be, it's gonna be 2 a.m. in Australia, and in Nigeria it's gonna be 5 p.m. So get ready.
So don't forget to leave Xi Jinping's house if you want to be able to join us. And India would be 9:30, right? I think so.
In India, I totally forget it. In India, it's going to be 9:30. Like we have a really big full house in India. So shout outs to India. And in the meantime, I want to say we're really glad to be here. And like just thanks to Austin, this podcast is still going on, and since the beginning he was there. He had a great passion. He really did his best for the website, for the podcast, for the YouTube channel, and he was really a big part of this podcast, and we really want to remember him and send our good best wishes for him and for his family and for everyone who knows Austin. It's been 2 years gone, but never forgotten, my friend.
Exactly. And that was 2 years ago, this past June 24th, 2026. He passed away in 2024, June 2024. And so
Yeah.
we just remember Austin. We should have done this last week, but I guess our heads
Yeah.
were somewhere. But we do
Yeah,
want to send
it
our
was full of things, and we just wanted to remind ourselves and remind everybody. Like, if you're listening to the podcast, if you're just discovered us, please go back to the earlier episodes, and you will find a really passionate guy who's really into this. And thanks to him, we are here now.
very passionate.
Yannick, you'll remember Austin as well, won't you?
Yeah, of course. Of course, I was there. I was a co-host with Austin, and I remember it as very passionate, as you said. He was very dedicated to what he did. I remember he was a very big fan of OnePlus, if I remember correctly. And he liked like testing OnePlus devices and doing all of the announcements as well. And yeah, it was a very fun to co-host with him, and of course I will remember him for a long time.
Indeed, he was a one pluser and the Mongolian minister. I dubbed him the Mongolian minister. He loved those custom ROMs and all of that. So that
Yeah,
was awesome. Yeah.
precisely.
He was a big fan of my nonsense as well, which I really liked. So a guy who liked to drink as I do, and to take the Mickey out of Warren, and indeed do similar nonsense. So yeah, I do dearly miss Austin.
He liked that thing called the monk. I have no clue what that is, but he always talked about that monk. Ed, what is that monk?
No clue, no idea.
I think it's it's a type of liqueur, I think, or a drink. The monk, did he say?
Yeah, he always talked about that. I think maybe some kind of an Indian brew called a monk.
I don't know. It could have been a rum or a whiskey. So it could well have been old monk, perhaps.
Yeah, something like that. And now, the Android Basics segment. This is a segment where we discuss the things that power your device from behind the scenes. And now, here's this week's episode, Android Basics. And let's move on now to the Android Basics. And today we're talking about Android17 QPR1 Beta6. And there were not a lot here to write home about, but we had some changes. But I think for me, the most important thing here is for those that use the Pixel phones and use that Pixel launcher, you know how frustrating it was. Every time you move around your finger and you find an empty spot in between icons, it says home. Now that is gone, and so unless you find a place that truly doesn't have any icons, you're not going to hear that. But so there's some fixes and changes and all of that, and here's a little of the changes that took place. In the spirit of celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States, Google surprised us by dropping Android17 QPR1 Beta6 exactly a week after Beta 5 was dropped on June the 23rd. As always, they were not allowed to write home about. Most of them were just visuals. But I do want to mention here in passing, for those of us that are blind and utilize the screen reader, however, we do have something that we could write home about. In other words, if you're a Pixel user and you're using the default launcher, which is the Pixel launcher, you would notice that you don't have those empty spots between the icons that usually would say home. The only time, though, that you're going to find a place that says home is when you actually add an empty spot that there are no icons. So that's a good thing for those of us that rely on the screen reader. With that, though, we've got some fixes, and there are a total of 5 of those. And here are those changes or fixes that we have with this Beta 6. 1. Users were unable to select multiple spell checker languages. 2. Pressing the device volume buttons within the clock app failed to trigger the expected user interface actions. 3. Rapidly swiping through the media carousel causes visual glitches in the quick settings layout and settings icon by improving animation and layout state handling during rapid transitions. 4. An issue in Window Manager Global that resulted in app crashes. And 5. Enabling the Wi-Fi hotspot displayed a generic default SSID instead of the user saved custom name. And that would be the fixes and changes that we have with that Android 17 QPR1 Beta 6. I also would like to mention here in passing that with this, though, we have reached that platform stability, meaning that we wouldn't be having any more APIs introduced from now on. And that's what we have with the changes of Android 17 QPR1 Beta 6. And again, that's what it is. And as I mentioned, this has reached that platform stability, and there wouldn't be any new APIs introduced for this QPR1 session. So that's what we have with the Android 17 QPR1 Beta 6 update. Welcome to the Spotlight segment. This is a segment dedicated to interviews with developers or interesting happenings in the world of Android. And now for this week's episode, here's your Spotlight.
And now we turn to our Spotlight section, and I'm delighted to say that Yannick PLASSIARD, former co-host, is back to talk about his screen reader, TalkForward. So, Yannick, welcome again, and tell us what you were wanting to achieve with or what you are wanting to achieve with TalkForward.
Yes, so glad to be here back again. I'm very sorry that Karine is not here because I know she loves G-Show screen reader, and it would have been so fun to let's say express our views on different screen readers. But and I'm saying that because TalkForward actually starts with G-Show screen reader. I was using TalkBack for years. I started with like Galaxy Nexus, which is a quite old thing. I don't know where it came from, but still, it's a very back in time. And so I saw the TalkBack evolution, and I always thought that unfortunately TalkBack, at least to me, very lacks has a very big issues regarding latency. Meaning the time when your finger is on the screen and the time when you hear is a spoken feedback regarding the action you want to perform, especially compared to other, the competitor like VoiceOver. And I guess it was in 2021 or 2022, I don't remember exactly, when I discovered G-Show, which was very promising, to be honest. Lots of features, lots of functionalities, and very low latency. So I was very happy with it until I discovered that there were many options and many ways to customize a screen reader, which were, I would say, very confusing to me. Like, the good thing is that you can customize it the very way you want to, but the disadvantage of that is that you spend hours to tweak at things, and when it doesn't work the exact way you want it to, it's not so easy to discover which parameter you want to change to make it work better for your usage. So
I think this is why we called it confused screen reader, isn't it, Warren?
Yeah.
Exactly. We call it the confused screen reader for for a reason. And besides, and you try to find out, and then it comes up in Chinese, and so absolutely confused.
Exactly. So I know that maybe people in China or in Asia may have different uses than we are here in Europe and America, and maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they created this thing. But to me, honestly, it's a little bit too complex to use and to customize. So I went away from this, and I went away, by the way, from Android for years, because I tested the Pixel 7, Pixel 8. Now I have a Pixel 9, and even with the Pixel 9, I would say, okay, we have a tensor, we have all these new beauties that Google put in the device, and despite that, I realized that TalkBack was still where it was, meaning it worked very well, and it's very usable, but to me, latency and some features that were present for years on iOS were unfortunately missing. And as I said, I started my self-employed company in early 2026. I was primarily focusing on iOS and macOS and Windows development, but a few months ago now, I like put back my phone from where it was, and my Android, my Pixel 9, and I say, okay, but what can we do? Could it be possible to create something that would be, I would say, still easier to use, or more or less easy to use and easy to customize, with not so many options, but with very, I would say, unique and cool features. And luckily, I believe it's in March that Google releases an updated version of AOSP TalkBack. So the TalkBack DFP, so the TalkBack which is whose code is open source, and bringing lots of cool things like actions and modern things that were present in the Google TalkBack, but not in AOSP TalkBack. And now that I saw that, I said, okay, maybe it's the time to invest some time and see where I can go with that. And I spent some time, I do some experiments, and I'm still doing lots of experiments. And here we are with TalkForward, which is, well, not a very fancy name, but it made me laugh, so I kept it.
I love the name personally.
I laugh on your behalf, Plassier. So let's talk about the name though. TalkForward. We got TalkBack, and now we got TalkForward. We're not talking backward, but we're talking forward.
Exactly.
Tell us how you decided to come up with this moniker. TalkForward.
I would like to have a name that would reference two things. The first is where the screen reader comes from, because I could have named it like I don't know, VoiceOver for Android or whatever, but first I didn't want to have a lawsuit at me by Apple. So VoiceOver for Android was not acceptable for this reason. And second, this screen reader is built on TalkBack AOSP, and I won't say that, oh, okay, guys, I re-implemented everything from scratch. No, that's not true. That's not the truth. So that's why I wanted to have this like common root, I would say, or something like that. And then I would like to infuse some kind of kind of a thing which is more responsive or faster or with less latency. And I found this kind of joke between back and forward. It remembered me when I imagined it like the fast forward, and that's why I kept that. And I think well, honestly, at the beginning it was a joke between me and myself, but now I kind of like it.
Yeah, I like it too. It's because it's like a, well, I don't know if I'm not gonna put words in your mouth, but to me it feels like a forward-thinking version of TalkBack. Like, it's based on TalkBack, but it's moving forward as far as features a lot faster than actual TalkBack is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the really grows fast, and I like how customizable it gets from each and every update.
Yeah, basically, that's the idea. Yeah.
Yeah, Yannick, the thing though that I'm so thankful for, because some of these things are always hidden up there on GitHub or somewhere, or you got to go download. Of course, I know you started that way, but it didn't take you too long to put it there where the kids could reach it. I call it, put the cookies on the lower shelf so the kids could get to it. You put it on the Play Store, taking that complication out, so anyone who has no knowledge of how to go about sideloading something or disabling this or that in order to be able to get this thing on, now could just easily just go to that URL and tap to install. And so that's what I'm so excited about, because it didn't take you long to do that. And so take us down that road. Did you have any troubles having it on the Play Store?
Say yes and no. It has always been my wish to put it on the Play Store, and to put it on the Play Store as soon as I can, for two reasons. The first is the exact reason you mentioned earlier, like putting the cookie on the low shelf. That's precisely that. I don't want to. You don't have to be an engineer to install a screen reader. That's not the way it works, especially when you are talking about accessibility. It should be as simple as possible to make this thing up and running on your device for your usage. And the second is, as you all guys know, we are now circled with AIs here and there, and we have lots of AIs that can produce code and that could produce applications. It's very easy now, even if you don't know a single line of code, you can easily write, or let's say tell an AI, tell an LLM to write for you an application to do this and that, and an application that works. An application, if you want to have an application for your grocery lists, for your agenda, you can ask an AI, and you will have an app, and this app will work for you, and that's great, and that's very amazing to have that. But the other side of the coin of that is that, of course, many programmers or non-programmers can now distribute their applications with, I would say, good intentions and not that good intentions behind that. And it's very easy to distribute an app saying, okay, this app is a fun game that does this and that, and under the hood, or I would say behind it, collect some data and do that thing and do that, etc., etc. And with side loading, which is installing an app without, outside of the Play Store, like taking the APK and installing it on the device, you mainly bypass nearly every security Google put in place to prevent this, which is a Play Protect and Play Services. And that's precisely why I want it to be on the Play Store as soon as I can, just because to benefit of those. And the route was, I would say, kind of frustrating because of the process, mainly because you have tons of things to fill and tons of forms to fill to be able to distribute. And especially when you distribute an accessibility service, you have to justify, not justify, but to that's
yeah, I think justify would be the right word to use.
Yeah.
Justify why you want those access to accessibility.
Exactly. You have to prove that you want to access a screen. You have to prove that your wish to do that is legitimate for your application, and is legitimate for the target users. So that's very fair. from Google to doing that, because this way they are sure that no one will claim for something and use it in a kind of different way. But of course, it requires some time, and it requires lots of hours, to be honest, to read the documentation, to fill the forms, to put it in review, get some feedbacks and adjust, and put it back in review and get some feedbacks again and adjust again, etc., etc. So it's a kind of loop. So it's somewhat frustrating, somewhat discouraging sometimes, but the reward at the end is that you have your app in the Play Store, and it's there, and it has been approved by a trustable entity, which is Google in that case. But on Apple platform, it would be the very same.
I got a question, if I could, Yannick. So, do you think what you're creating is a simplified G-Sure, or is it a voiceover for Android? I noticed you wanted the rotor.
Do you mean simplify G-Sure or what?
So you said when you started the interview that G-Sure was complicated and it should be simplified. So I was wondering, do you think TalkForward is an attempt to simplify G-Sure, or is it to sort of bring as much of voiceover as you can over to Android?
Yeah, I get it now. So my goal is not to clone voiceover on Android, because it's not possible, and it's easier not wanted, because and probably not relevant for some situation. What I would like, what I tried to do is to think back of what could be interesting to have, and what could be not so interesting to have. For example, VoiceOver has this kind of activities that you can define, in which you can personalize settings, which are app-based, but not really app-based. Sometimes it's intent-based. It's a little confusing, and to me, this thing doesn't have to be like in a screen reader. It's not well enough defined to be sure that it would be useful at some point. The second thing, for example, to stay in the same kind of non-feature I would like to have is, and I know that some guys around here may complain about that, is that the auto language switching feature, which is available on iOS for a long time now, and which is available on Android with some third-party packages, like I guess AutoTTS tries to do that, if I'm correct. But to me, I didn't find an auto language switch, which means change language and synthesizer and voice on the fly based on what you are reading. I didn't find anything that would be accurate enough to be able to say, okay, use it and you'll be happy, and it will work every time. And so the idea is more to have a more performant version of TalkBack, especially regarding latency and regarding speed and accuracy. And second, to introduce new features like the rotor, but not only that, like features like launch mode. We could talk a little bit later on, which will be released very soon, or maybe some other features that are still being developed but not out there because they lack some polishing. If I find a feature that is interesting, I put it in, and sometimes it may occur that I put it in and I redraw it a little later because I realize that it's not used or it's too confusing. For example, I introduced rotor groups, which are a way to have several rotors or several I would say, several group for rotor assembled into a group. For example, you will have an audio group in which you can control all of the volumes of your phone and the mode of your phone, like ringing, vibration, and silence, for example. And you will have a web group in which you can navigate through a heading and checkbox and forms, etc., etc. But it seems to be so the feature is still there, but it seems to be that it's not so useful at the end. And maybe I went on the wrong path here. So maybe this thing would be abandoned in a future version. So yeah. So regarding for sure, I want it to be simpler than G-Sure. That's for sure, because G-Sure has tons of things, but it's way too complex to see which option does what, and also it's a nightmare to debug, because the combination of options you need to test it just gets amazing. So yeah, definitely simpler, but with cool features.
So I also got a question for you. First, since we got the time to have you on the podcast, I really want to thank you for what you're doing. This is really going well, and you're really putting a lot of efforts. First, picking up the user feedback and working on them one by one. You're reading all of them. I know it's never easy, especially you're going through different sorts of groups. When I approached to you and told you about our communities, you were so nice to saying, okay, I'll be there. I'll definitely be there to get more user feedback. It's really something nice that you're doing. It's really amazing to see these a developer doing that, caring about user feedback. I want to know, since you're using TalkForward on your phone, what do you think is missing there right now? And there is another thing that we were talking with Warren. When we enable TalkForward, it still says that another screen reader is running. What's that? Because since we turn off TalkBack, but it still sees that there's another screen reader running. Is it a bug, or is it that it just sees other accessibility apps that's been active?
So to answer your second question, it's probably a bug. I would say 90%. I'm 90% sure it's a bug. I don't have it on my Pixel here. It never complains about another screen reader which will be running. I made some adjustments to get rid of that, and also to fix a bunch of issues I had, when you disable TalkForward and you lose all touch control on your device or something like that. So some very critical things that needed to be addressed. It should have been addressed in the 4 version, which is still being reviewed by Google. Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's a bug for sure. And what lacks in current version of TalkForward, honestly, it really depends, and it circles back on what you said at the beginning. It really depends on users, because I don't want to develop a screen reader for myself. That's cool, but that's cool as a side project. That's not cool as a main project when you spend hours a day on that. And to me, and that's partly why also I'm so present on Telegram and on the groups to answer feedback and to get feedback, is because I won't lie, I guess 60% of TalkForward features come from feedback or from ideas that has been inspired by a feedback by someone at some point, like a message saying, the Braille keyboard is not so easy to use, for example. I got that feedback, and I said, okay, why it's not so easy? And maybe I said, okay, maybe it's not so easy because you have to enable that on your device, on your system, etc. And maybe you can use it in edit text, but you can't use it elsewhere, like to launch applications or to navigate your screen or to enter emojis or to do this and that. And that's where we are now. Now we have a system-wide keyboard, which is available from everywhere, which has some a launcher integrated in that, which has some emojis that you can type directly with recent emojis. I introduced also the bigram system to predict the next word when you're typing. So you even don't need to use, for example, grade 2 or even grade 3 to type faster. You can just like type HELL, and it will suggest hello, for example, if you are at the beginning of a sentence, and it will learn from what you're typing. So it's not, and this thing is not so easy, not so hard to do, really. And it's not to say that I'm the very best at programming, etc. But it's really not so hard to do. The algorithms are well known and are very easy to find. There are lots of papers, lots of things to say, oh, you want to implement that? Do this, and that, and that's it, and that's it. It's done. So it's not so hard to do, but I don't know why. I read, well, I would say I'm 90% sure that nobody did it before. Don't know why.
Yeah, when I'm looking at your website and when I'm reading about you, I see that you really have a background in software development. So this is the promising part about the screen reader, because like I'm sure you've seen the other projects that they're being developed, but what sets you apart is customization. And what is really promising about TalkForward is that it features scripts, and I'm sure this is going to be really good for the future versions. Like so far, there are only a couple of scripts, and it's only available in certain languages. But in the future, I'm sure there will be even more scripts coming along, and even users will want to contribute to this gallery, this catalog.
Exactly. The idea is not to be a closed thing, like only me can contribute with scripts. Of course, I will do, and I did it also to prove that to prove to me that it could be possible, because I was not so sure about that. And for example, using WhatsApp without scripts to me it's a pain.
I agree. I really agree. Like your script really made things work much better. Like the scrolls are gone.
Yeah, and you can like change voice speed with a rotor action, and not like having to look around to see whether it's there is the 1x, 1.5x, etc.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I want the same thing for Instagram and Spotify. I know you don't use them, but still.
Probably. Well, for Instagram, I don't know. I tried to do it for Facebook, because I would have loved to have the kind of same. Well, to me, Facebook is a pain, but I know it's widely used, and I know that on iOS the accessibility is not that bad, and it's very convenient to navigate. On Android, to me, it's way too. It's really a pain to navigate. So I'd like to do it, and unfortunately, it's very complex to do, because the structure of what Facebook provides regarding accessibility is really a nightmare to detect posts, etc. So I don't know about Instagram, and I don't know also about Spotify. Currently, I only started with WhatsApp and YouTube. YouTube is not perfect. There are things that should be improved. But yeah, the idea, there are two things. The idea is to open the thing, so to document it, to have a kind of developer or script documentation, so that everyone can write their own script for their own application. And at the end, if they want to, share them with the community, so that everyone can benefit from scripts. Yeah.
First, I want to say sorry because I wasn't able to come earlier, and I want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us. And I have two questions. I'm sorry if you have already answered the questions. You can say, okay, you can watch them in the interview later. So my questions are one regarding the scripts and the other regarding the gestures or the screen reader itself. If I'm not an iOS gestures or iOS style fan, so to be honest, I haven't tested the screen reader. But based on your answer, I consider testing it or not, at least for now, because if I'm a person who is not at all a fan of the iOS style or gestures, so do I get the same gestures that are available in TalkBack and other screen readers, or the Android-related gestures that are specifically the angular gestures, you know, the one-finger gestures? Am I able to use them? And are there like special features or features that, aside from the Braille keyboard, like I'm not talking about the Braille keyboard, like this, I'm talking about the screen reader itself. Are there features that I will get if I use the screen reader if I'm not into iOS style or gestures?
Yes. So regarding your first question, angular gestures are currently disabled. Sorry for that. The reason for that currently at least is because when TalkBack or TalkForward or whatever screen reader detects an angular gestures, when you swipe, for example, right, it has to wait until either you lift your finger or you go up or down to determine which gesture you want to accomplish and which action you want to accomplish. And I want it to be as fast as possible for the simple navigation, like swipe left, swipe right, swipe up and down. And because of that, that's why I decided, at least for now, to disable these angular gestures. I'm pretty sure they could come back very soon. I just need some time to figure out an algorithm that won't that won't affect people who don't want to use this regarding latency. As soon as I found it, angular gestures will be back, and you absolutely don't need to use the new introduced gestures like rotor, the rotation gestures with 2 fingers, for example, or the scrub to do the back gesture. Everything can be reassigned, like I would say pretty any other screen reader out there. So if you want, for example, to have your granularity assigned with the 3-finger swipes, like it is on default TalkForward, you can do that. That's already possible. The only thing, as I said, which lacks is the angular gestures, but I'm working on it, and I know it has been asked and it's still being asked. So I'm pretty sure, I would say I'm 90% sure that I could make it available at some point later for a later version. And as for your second question, which feature would be in TalkForward that is not present in, I would say, in TalkBack, because I don't know, for example, enough to be sure there won't be like an extension or whatever to implement such a feature. But so the first is you talked a little bit about it in the beginning of your question regarding scripts, which are absent, which are not present in TalkBack, and there are also some features to describe things using AI, using Gemini. So you can ask, you can describe whatever is in front of you using your phone's camera. You can you will be able to do some very quick OCR of a document if you want to quickly have a look. So it's not meant to replace full of CR package, but if you want to have a look at a quick text, you will be able to do that. And one of the features I'm currently, which will be released when the .4 release will be out by Google, is the launcher mode, which is a feature which combines two gestures, one to enter this mode. And in this mode, every gesture can launch an application. So if, for example, you are like me and you hate the recent app, because depending on the brand and on your device, it's very slow to navigate, at least with TalkBack. You can assign a gesture to launch all of your favorite apps with a different one gesture, with a kind of layering, so that you let's say, for example, you assign the 2 fingers swipe left to enter this launcher mode. You will swipe left with 2 fingers, and then you will do another gesture, whatever you want. And if it's assigned to an application, this application will be either started or bring to front immediately. So it's very convenient when you want to switch to a given app, and you have like I don't know, maybe 10 favorite apps or whatever, or even 20. If you remember all of the gesture you assigned, you can very easily and quickly switch between your open applications and activities.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Actually, for old Android users, the Angular gestures are very important. I mean, they become like an integral part of our usage case, I think. Like sometimes I'm using an iPhone, not my, because I don't have an iPhone, but sometimes I'm using someone else's iPhone, and I find myself drawing the gestures because I'm so much used to them. So that's the point about gestures. And yeah, that the new features are interesting. And my last question, which I already mentioned, it's about the scripts, or we call them in Jisho extensions, but add-ons, whatever you want to call them. So what's the programming language used in the scripting system that you're gonna implement, or is it already implemented? I mean, is it already implemented? The ability to create a script as a user, is that implemented? And what's the programming language used?
So scripts, I decided to call them app scripts, but whatever, scripts is very fine. Add-ons is fine. Extensions is fine as well. And it may change if we find a better word for them. But so it's programmed in a Lua, which is a very tiny programming language which can be embedded in pretty everything. To be honest, with some custom and some defined methods and functions to like access, change the focus, add some actions to the actions rotor, for example, or do this and that, and etc. to access all the screen reader internals, and also to be able to inspect the screen, so that you can, for example, let's say if you are in WhatsApp and you want to have only one swipe per message, and especially for per voice message, you can do that, like redefining the way focus change is done, so that as a user, you may see one element, although there are like 3 or 4 or 5 elements at the screen when you are not using scripts. And of course, this is meant to be opened at some point. It's not yet already, just because I need to make it very stable, not in terms of way of working, but more in terms of APIs, and more in terms of what is being proposed to the user to implement things. And the second is, and it's as much as important, if not more, is the documentation, because opening something is good, but opening something without any documentation of some sort is a real pain. if you want to dive in, and if you want to and you don't have any resources, it's really a pain to do that. So I really want to have a kind of documentation page saying what's available in terms of programming language and in terms of what you can do with that, and also what are according to TalkForward the best practices to follow and the guidelines to follow to be sure that your application, your script, will be as fast and as efficient as possible for the user. And of course, at the end of all that, users will be able to create scripts, but they will also be able to submit scripts so that they will be integrated for everyone to be able to use them.
That's great, actually, because I'm a Gisho user, and I'm a long-time Gisho user, and extensions are very essential for us Gisho users. So I can tell you how much important having an advanced scripting system is for users, actually. So you find me comparing things. So as I understood it, it will be like there will be the internal screen reader services that are predefined that the user can use. So it's the same as Gisho, and as well as dealing with other Android-related APIs and like, for example, if you want to deal with something external, like you want to use the audio manager to decrease the volume or stuff. So it will be that advanced, right?
Nearly that advanced. The only thing I'm currently wondering is whether I would allow some scripts to be able to access user storage because of privacy, and also to access the network still because of privacy, because when you have a script that can send and receive data on the network, on the internet, it's not so easy to be sure that a script won't do something nasty about your data or about your application, etc. So that's the only thing I'm currently not sure about, whether I will enable this or not. To be honest, currently I tend to say that it won't be the case, because the idea is more to script applications than creating like new tools to, like, I don't know, get some RSS feeds, etc. The idea is not to be able to create tiny applications within TalkForward, rather than making current application installed on your device more accessible with TalkForward.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that in TalkForward, the one finger back and forth gestures worked. And if that is the case, why is it that those can work, but the angle gestures can't work, as far as like improving the latency of like a regular swipe?
Good question. Very, very good one. Yeah, you're right. Back and forth gestures work, at least vertical ones, because they are less used in I would say, day-to-day navigation. Of course, they are used when you want to change granularity, if you want to go character by character, or etc., or word by word, or swipe between available actions. But because it's I would say not the very main path of navigating your phone, the three most important gestures you'll do while navigating, except Explore by touch, which is not really a gesture, would be swipe left, swipe right, and double tap. And that's why I disabled the angular gestures, but still, I'm pretty sure that they will be back sooner or later. I hope sooner, when I find a way to reconcile latency and this gesture support. So it's not a technical limitation. It's rather a choice and a trade-off between I would say gesture availability vs latency and and overall performance.
Okay, so you have disabled the left and right back and forth gestures. Is that what you're saying? But not the up and down?
Well, if I'm correct, yes.
Okay.
If not, maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm wrong. But no, I guess I disabled it, or I unassigned it, and when unassigned, they are not because they are not assigned to anything. The screen reader won't try to detect them because they are unassigned.
Oh, okay. So maybe that's the solution for the angle gestures.
Maybe, yeah.
You know,
maybe.
just leave them unassigned, and if people assign them, there maybe a pop-up will tell them assigning an angle gesture might decrease or increase latency, and then just have them say, okay, don't show me this again, and let them assign
that could definitely be an option, although I would prefer to have them assignable and not degrading latency at the same time, so that everyone can benefit from the lowest latency possible. But yeah, you're right. That could certainly be a user option. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other question I had is, maybe this is more of a feature request, but I noticed you implemented the scrub gesture, and from my playing with it, it seems like you can just do it like two ways, whereas on iOS it requires, correct me if I'm wrong because I don't use iOS, but I think on iOS it seems like it requires you to do it three ways, like right, left, right, before it actually takes. But on this, you only have to do it twice. Is that true?
You should need to do it 3 times to make it work. But I reduced the distance needed so that you won't have to do a very big scrub to do it, because on iOS you have to do it 3 times. But it's very permissive. Like if the third time is very tiny and you move only by millimeters, it's still taken into account. And that's what I tried to reproduce. I'm pretty sure it's not perfect, so maybe it should be improved. And of course, if some iOS users out there or Android users out there feels that it's not so easy to do it, or maybe a little too easy to do it, that's always a possibility as well. Feel free to tell me, and I'll adjust things to make it better for everyone.
All right. So, and here's where the feature request comes in. I thought it was only 2 directions that you had to go, but I was thinking it would be cool if you could have back, because you have this mode where if you can either choose to have your 2-finger gestures pass through by default like regular TalkBack does, but then if you choose not to do that, then you can assign the 4 the 4 directions to whatever you want. And I was thinking it'd be cool if you could also have back and forth gestures, 2-finger gestures that you could assign, and then you could just use one of those directions for your scrub to go back, and then you could have the other 3 to do whatever you want. But I don't know if that would be possible or overcomplicated or what.
Yeah, that's definitely an idea. And when I talked earlier on saying that talking with users always lead to new features, we are precisely here. And yeah, that's definitely something which is possible, which would increase the amount of gestures available. And the more gestures we have, the more we can assign to new features, new functions, etc. So yeah,
exactly. Because I'm on the fence right now, because I like being able. I'm just so used to the pass through and being able to do things with pass through gestures that I'm kind of like, is it worth getting 4 new assignable gestures? But then if we're 8, it'd be a little more tempting for me. You know? Yeah,
sure, of course. And in the latest version, we same way. The rotor of the gestures, when you rotate 2 fingers left or right, can also be reassigned to something else. So if, for example, you want to do that to alter your volume, for example, you can do like a real volume knob, or if you want to assign it to, I don't know, whatever, it can be still reassigned as well. So yeah, there is no reason why back and forth two finger gestures couldn't be assigned to something. I just need to wire it into the UI and into the screen reader.
It's so nice, guys, all that you've been talking about. I didn't even realize, though, that the angle gestures were disabled, because, to be honest with you, I seldom use those. I basically use like the native gestures. For example, I never use an angular gesture to go back, one angular gesture to go home,
Yeah, I
etc.,
like it for
etc.
notifications.
So
Yeah.
so I didn't realize that that was missing, because I never use those. I just use those native gestures. For example, if I want to go back, I just swipe with two fingers from the left side or right side to go back, and home from the bottom side. So I didn't realize that these things were disabled until you guys were mentioning it. And while you were talking, I just grabbed my phone and realized that was the case. Now, though, talking about customization, PLASSIARD, the one thing that we know, or maybe a couple things that we know for sure in TalkBack, that a lot of us have been kind of disappointed with. The first one has to do with that universal discriminate, I call it discriminate selection and copying, that we don't have. For example, I'm reading something there on the internet, and I'm reading something on your website, and I want to copy a certain article or whatever, and I just want to copy from here and jump over here and copy there. TalkBack would not let me do that selection and copying outside of edit boxes. I don't know, because I just got TalkForward installed like maybe a few days ago, and I've been very busy. I haven't played with it as I ought to. So is that part of it? Do we have the ability to select things outside of an edit field yet or not? That's my first question.
So not yet, to be honest. It's not yet done, and selection and copying and pasting, etc., is a big work. A big work I need to do. There are big areas like that that still need my attention. I didn't focus on them. Another one is Braille. Maybe we'll talk about that a little later. But getting back to selection, we have two things here, I guess. Selecting things within the same element, like within the same paragraph, for example, on a web page, shouldn't, and I insist on that, shouldn't not be so hard to do, because we are on the same element and on the same on Android it's called a node or focused item. So we are on the very same object, and that should be achievable without too much effort. What would be much more difficult to do, I guess, is when you want to select 3 paragraphs from a web page, for example, or a paragraph that contains 2 links within it, and you want to select like the whole sentence, not the "this is a link thing" that does link something, and you don't have to select like 5 times to have the "this is" and the link and etc. 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 So that's certainly more difficult to do. That's certainly achievable in some way, I guess, but I have to figure it out. And to be honest, I don't know exactly how it could work. The only thing I did regarding selection right now is I implemented a new, I called it a rotor, but you may call it a granularity. I guess in TalkBack it's called like that, which is a clipboard on which you can review what you already selected before, and you can review them and then paste whatever you selected. So if, for example, you copy the first thing and a second and a third, they will all appear in your screen reader clipboard, and then you will be able to paste this in whatever priority you want to paste them.
Thank you so much. My second question has to do with another pain point that we have in TalkBack. And we've talked about this, infinitum. In other words, we want to be able to switch TTS engines on the fly, because this is something that happens all the time. Someone downloads a new engine and forgot to download the data. Some of them require that one download voice data, and some don't. And those that do, most oftentimes people forget to download those voice data and then enable or choose that TTS engine, and finds themselves in a pickle because they forgot to download that voice data. And so if we could have something that is called switching TTS engines on the fly, and I don't know if it has, because there's something I saw in the settings a little while ago, that's TalkForward settings, that is. I saw something under the audio, and there's something about rotor and TTS, and when I tap on that, it says my default was Samsung, but then there's another one item in there that says add voice. Is that what I'm talking about? Is that a feature there that I could say, okay, I could add this other voice so I could switch TTS engines on the fly, or am I misunderstanding that?
You are partly correct. The voice router is a router which contains voice and their settings. So I don't say I'm not talking about TTS by themselves, but TTS voices. So let's say, for example, you have I don't know, maybe vocalizer and maybe a couple of TTS voices. You may decide to add a vocalizer voice, I don't know, maybe Daniel or maybe whatever, or Samantha or etc., with a given speech rate and a given volume as well. And you may also add another voice, maybe Daniel from vocalizer with another speech rate, and maybe another voice like I don't know, Graham, for example, from a cappella with another TTS with other settings. And when you do that, you have a voice router in which you can switch on the fly between your added voices, which will instantaneously switch between all your voices configurations. So it's not a matter of you are stuck with vocalizer, and if you want to switch back to Google TTS, you have to go to TTS settings and change that thing. Now the idea is to decouple this from these TTS settings, so that you have more freedom to switch voice on the fly. And the second part, well, actually the first part of a question, which is what happens if you forget to install the voice data and you reboot your phone and you don't have internet because you did not unlock. You have this SIM card pin which stuck you, etc. So I wanted to include. To be honest, I wanted to include eSpeak directly within TalkForward, so that whatever happens, you would have a TTS. Okay, it's a poor quality, and most of everyone here maybe don't like it, but still it speaks, and still it will be able to. You will be able to unlock your device. I'm currently struggling with license terms of eSpeak because of license incompatibility between eSpeak and TalkForward. So I'm still looking for other solutions, and I'm pretty sure I will find one at some point. But the idea, would be to have a kind of embedded TTS that is always there, and so that we won't get stuck when everything goes wrong and when you don't have any internet, any whatever. or you are on your lock screen, and it would still speak. But currently, it's not the case. Currently, it's like every other screen reader, and you are lucky because you are in the US and you speak English, and by default, Google brand all their new phones with, by default, all the English voices, or at least a US English voice. But when you are, like, for example, me, when you are in France and you put your SIM card into your phone and it boots, and then you want to hold your volume buttons to start your talk back for the very first time for your setup screen. If you are in France and it detects that the system language is set to France because of your SIM card, it won't speak at all because the French voice is not installed, and you are stuck like that until you plug a USB to Ethernet connector and connect your phone to your box or to your modem through Ethernet cable, so that you can have the internet and so that you can download the French voice. So that's a pain. And to be honest, I don't understand why Google is still doing that on phones nowadays. But well, to sum it up, yeah, the idea is to make it speak forever, I would say, whatever the situation. And for that, I'm currently trying to find solutions. But and for day-to-day use, the router is there so that you can easily switch between your voice configurations.
Well, thank you so much. And I just want to mention, because there's a competition, right? Because the thing that I'm talking about, I think a couple or maybe one of those other competitors that we have out there, I think it's either the Father or the Hearsay. I think one of them has that changing TTS engines on the fly. So you could check which one sits at the top. So I could use a gesture and just move through the different engines. So that's what I was talking about. But you were mentioning something about putting in a SIM card. I remember my wife and I were in Paris, and I got a French SIM card. Turn on, it was my Nokia phone at the time. Turn it on, and I heard touche. I couldn't change to English. I had to have someone help me.
Yeah, precisely.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So in a situation like that, so that could be someone finding themselves in a bind, or like you said, you put in a SIM card and all of a sudden you totally lost speech. So if possible, because I know you're very responsive, I'm blown away by your capability of implementing some of the things that I see people posting on our Telegram group. It must be the French wine. Because then you come back the following day, oh, that's fixed. And I'm like, unbelievable. So I'm really proud of you.
Thanks. Well, you're right. It's a French wine and French cheese. That helps a lot. And yeah, but you're right. For example, what you are just talking about, like regarding being able to switch TTS engine on the fly, or maybe having to, like, you speak something with one engine, and if you see that it doesn't work, you can automatically switch to another. It's not really complex to do. It's not. Sometimes you don't have the API, and that's where it becomes complex, because you have to either reinvent the wheel or maybe try some workarounds that are not really documented to achieve what you want to achieve. But in such cases, there are some APIs, and maybe those are sufficient to implement things. And it's just a matter of spending a few hours studying what's available. And if you find a way to do it, it's a matter of implementing. So that's why I'm always saying, when I'm just talking with users who said to me, "Oh, but I don't want to put too much on your plate, etc." I said, "Don't worry. I will do a triage after that. And don't worry, maybe you think something is difficult and it's not. And maybe that sometimes it's the other way around. You think something is very easy and it's way difficult to do. But still, talking about it and mentioning it and creating issues, creating feature requests is very important to me, because that's why TalkForward is progressing so fast nowadays. That's because there are plenty of users. I receive, like, to be honest, I would say 10 to 20 user requests per day within the feedback system regarding TalkForward. And most of them are very valuable, and most of them lead at some point to a new feature or a bug fix. So that's I'm really grateful for that.
Yannick, let's talk a little bit about Braille, because sometimes this is one of the big elephants in the room that we don't often talk about, because there are not a lot of Braille users out there. But I'm so happy to see that you actually implemented that Braille support in there. Take a minute and talk to us a little bit about that Braille support.
Yeah, very interesting. There are two things about Braille support. The first is a Braille keyboard, which TalkBack users already know about, but still, I don't really understand why Google did like 50% of the journey, and they didn't implement it. I would say the full way, like with an ability to have the Braille keyboard on screen, Braille keyboards open all the time, and using Braille dots to navigate the screen. It's very efficient. If you have the time to just try it, you'll see that the latency is amazing, and it's somewhat disturbing, somewhat confusing at the beginning, but it's very, very efficient to navigate the screen, or to search elements, or to launch applications, etc. So I don't really know why Google didn't do that, but they have their reasons. And regarding Braille devices, Android is lucky enough to use the most versatile software, which is called BRLTTY, which comes from the Linux world at the beginning, which is the most versatile software because it supports the software that supports pretty every Braille device out there, from your old parallel port Alva series device to the most recent, I don't know, Brite Evolve or
Emotion and all of
Emotion,
those.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's the Emotion, etc. So I'm a Braille user. As a developer, I need to read and write Braille to be sure that I write things correctly, because on
That's
speech
perfect.
you don't have the spelling. So the first thing I did, because when I took back my phone, I plugged my Focus on USB directly on the phone, and I said, "Oh, it works. Great! That's a game changer from iOS, on which you only have Bluetooth support and you don't have USB support." So I said, "Okay, good. They kept the USB support." And then I tried to type things, and the Braille key map is I don't know how to say that. It's a pain. I don't know. You have plenty of shortcuts, so that's good, but they are really not intuitive at all, and they forbid you, for example, to type 8-Braille correctly, because they use, like, for example, .1 and .7 to go to the previous element, but at least on the French Braille table, and I guess that's the same on the US ones as well. .1 and .1 is a, and .1 at 7 is a capital A. So you guess what? You need to type in 6-Braille to do all of the old, like, capital prefixes and number prefixes, etc., to type Braille, and that's very too bad. And the second thing is that they leverage, so TalkBack and TalkForward leverage BRLTTY and LibLouis, which is again the most common Braille translator out there, and the most performant Braille translator out there, and they do it so little with that, and that's too bad. So currently, I didn't start to work on Braille because I really want to work on the Bluetooth keyboard key map support before that, to increase it, to be able to see if I can make it better. But Braille is definitely on my checklist, and I definitely need to do that.
I have one more question for you.
Yep.
And this is kind of concerning the future. So I believe this is based on, you mentioned AOSP, but I don't know what TalkBack version. Maybe 16.2 would be like the most.
Yeah, the latest. Yeah, so it's 16.2. Yeah.
Yeah. So as new TalkBack versions come out, are you going to be kind of forced to choose, like, to start all over, or would you be able to, like, because I don't know how it works, would you be able to, like, I hate to just say copy and paste to make it sound easy, but would you be able to move new features from future versions of TalkBack into your version, or would you have to start all over, get the new version of TalkBack and add your features into it? Or do you plan on just having your own separate version of TalkBack with new features and not really planning to implement any future TalkBack features?
It really depends. The thing is that AOSP TalkBack is not updated very often. It's not like updated like every month or every week or etc. And it's sometimes very late compared to Google TalkBack. So I don't know when the next release will come up, and it's always a trade-off between what you would win, what you would gain using this, and what you would lose if you want to use it, and compared to what modification you made in your own screen reader to accommodate your features. And of course, as you may know, the more I develop features, the more the core of the screen reader changes, because sometimes I need to implement new things very deep into the screen reader core to, for example, to decrease latency, to be able to be as fast as possible. I need to rework how nodes are discovered on the screen, to rework how focus is handled, to rework how gestures are handled or how gestures are detected. And it may be more or less difficult to take a newer version and rebase my work on that version, or so I don't have the answer, and it will of course depend on what would be in the next TalkBack version, the next TalkBack AOSP version, and I truly don't know. What makes me confident it won't happen soon is that, to be honest, Google TalkBack doesn't evolve that much nowadays, I guess. There are new features here and there, but they don't seem to be very rooted into the screen reader. What I mean by that is that it's more like a satellite thing added. For example, image description. It doesn't need to be very rooted into the core of the screen reader. You don't need to you take the focus, you take the image behind the focus, and you send it to Gemini, and that's it. Same for screen description. So I'm not quite sure it would be needed, and when it will occur, it will be, of course, the time for me to study what has changed, and whether it's worth the work of rebasing things or not.
Okay, yeah, I see where you're going with that, and I didn't realize it was so infrequent that they released it. But I mean, this is why nobody has done this lately, is because it was so outdated, right? And now all of a sudden everybody's starting to do their own forks of TalkBack, and I'm assuming it's because I think you said in March it was released.
Yeah, exactly. It's in March release, and so the other reason, I guess, why so many people now takes this fork and does things about that is that because of or thanks to AI models and LLMs that are very good to express and transform user intents into working code, which were not the case even 1 year ago. It was very less performant and pretty much not used in software development because there were too many bugs, and you spent way much time debugging the things than waiting for the AI to do the work. So yeah, I guess that's part of the equation as well.
All right, yeah, and as like you mentioned, Google's pretty slow with adding features anyway. Like it'd be easier just to like implement your own. Like if a new feature comes out at TalkBack 17.1, for example, that people like, it took them like 6 months to add it, but you might be able to add your own version of it to your own version, like in a couple weeks or something, and then not have to even worry about trying to, change the code base or whatever.
Yeah, you're possibly right.
Yannick, thank you so much. We've talked a lot about all the features and all the work and all of that. Now, someone may be asking, is there any in-app purchases? Talk to us about whether or not there are any in-app purchases, any upgrades for someone who wants to maybe have access to certain features that they would like to, and if so, are these based on a recurring subscription, or are these a one-time type payments? Take us down that line.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for asking. So TalkBack is free, but I have nothing to do with it. And TalkForward is free as well. Yeah, because I don't want to have a screen reader which you need to pay something to be to access your device. It's your device, and you should have access to it without paying anything. But of course, developing such a screen reader takes time, and although programmers don't sleep a lot, they need to eat sometime. So eat and drink, especially French wine and French cheese. So that's
time
why
is money. Remember, time is money. Yeah.
Time is wine and cheese. So that's why, and I created some in-app purchases, which won't unlock new features. In a sense that you still be able to have access to those features without paying anything if you want to. So it's more a matter of supporting the screen reader developments, and all of the currently, it may change the future, but I'm not sure it would be the case. All of the different purchases unlock the same thing, which is basically a way to ask Gemini some describe screen, describe a scene, describe an image, describe a document, etc., without having to, for the user to go on the Gemini API, create an account, create a service, create an API key, take this API key and copy it into the screen reader. So it's mainly that. There are all of the other features are as I said, are free, and because because some users want to support the screen reader, I guess that's fair enough for me to provide them with some, I would say, my own Gemini paid credits, so that they won't need to import their key for all the image and script description, as I said, and also for the document OCR and what's in front of my camera features. And also, because I didn't talk about that, also regarding dictation, because I added a Gemini-based dictation so that you can talk to your phone and say, I want to do this and this and that. Oh no, wait, not that, this, and the sentence at the end will be correctly rephrased so that there won't be your hesitations, and you can it can do some grammar spellings, etc. So it's one of the way to support me unlocks you this thing, but you can still have access to it with your own Gemini key if you prefer to do so. And just to be very complete on that, you have four, I would say, four not payments, but four plans. Let's say plans. It's not a plan, but you'll get it when I'll say it. The first is bronze, which starts at $9.99, and you will have a silver, which is 19, gold, which is $29.99, and platinum, which is $49.99. Again, it translates to your local currency, so be sure to check it out on the Play Store when you want to purchase things, so that you are sure to pay the right price for what you want to do. And again, although I'm very grateful for all the supporters who encourage me, it's never and will never be mandatory to do anything. So do it only if you want it and only if you can.
Well, I gotta say this, guys, please try to support it in the means you can. I did in the very early days just to support this project. I knew that this is gonna be really promising. This is gonna be on the Play Store and such, and this is really coming true. So, guys, please support the project in the ways you can.
Thanks.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Yannick. This is really absolutely beautiful. And I'm glad you were able to dedicate your time to come on here today and talk to us about this. And don't forget, though, that last Saturday, you may want to come in again because someone may have that important question that we didn't get to ask. A listener might. So put that on your calendar again, my man, the 25th at the same time, for July the 25th, so you could come back in here again when you get to meet all the different people. Maybe someone from France, who knows? Who
knows? Exactly. Yeah. It's written down in my agenda, but for sure. So don't worry, I'll be there.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
I have a feeling that this topic, if he shows up, this topic will dominate the episode.
It would.
In the same way, it's like taking over our Telegram group. I was so close to like just making a topic for TalkForward. So many people have been talking about it. Like it's
exactly.
It's what everybody's talking about at the moment.
So beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Yannick. So looking forward to seeing you again. Most especially when time permits you to do so. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. It has been a very pleasure to be here.
And now, the unboxing segment. This is the segment dedicated to the unboxings of phones, tablets, watches, or any hardware device having to do with Android. And now, here's this episode's unboxing. We now move on to our next segment, and this is the unboxing segment / review. And today we're talking about the M02 and the BriteAI app, whose developer we had back here in episode 286. And here's that review of the M02 glasses / the review. Hi. Warren here, and for this episode, I'll be unboxing / reviewing both the M02 glasses and the Brite AI app from Brighten Technology. We had a developer on here like 5 weeks ago, back in episode 286, where we talked about the app and the glasses. So Brite AI as an app is an AI app that is supposed to work with different glasses, whether it's those that you connect via Bluetooth or those that you use a USB connection and all of that. Basically, the whole idea is to be able to make it easy for blind users to use it with whatever glasses that they have. Jerry, who is the developer of the app, also indicated, though, that they were going to be integrating the Meta glasses into this as well. And so he sent me a pair of the M02 glasses that I am reviewing here. And so it's going to be a brief demonstration. You guys know me, I'm not so much into the box and all of that, but here I have it. That's the box. I'm opening up the box here. Let's see what we got. All right. And in the box, we have the glasses. I'm going to take it out. It's in a case. There we go. I heard it turning on. And then we got one little box in there, long box. And that box contains like extenders for the arms of the glasses. So if you want to extend, you want it to reach farther behind your head, you could put those extenders on. And it also has nose pads, so if you don't want the glasses to be too much on your nose or whatever, but it has soft nose pads that you can put on. And then there's the charger, of course, which is a USB-C, and then it magnetically hooks to the case of the glasses to give it charge. And so the case has a battery, and every time you put the glasses back in there, it automatically charges it. So I'm going to open it, and as it is, when you open the glasses, it automatically will pair with the Brite AI app. I'm going to turn on my phone here, and let's see what we got. So it already paired with my phone, and I'm going to bring it up because I can hear it in the case because it automatically turned on. That's one thing. If you, there we go. I heard the sound. There we go. So when you open the glasses, it automatically pairs. I'm going to take the plastic stuff off. There we go. From the arms. And the description of it is that it has a camera on one side, I think it's on the left, and then like a flash on the other end. And so we got on the right arm, we've got a couple buttons. There's the one that is going toward the lenses is the power on and off, and the one going toward the back of your head is the one that you hold down to either use the assistant, take pictures, record videos, answer calls, etc., etc. So if I turn it on, for example, see if you can hear it. Okay.
Declutter.
So now you can hear my phone by itself, but if I turn it on, just hold it down for a little bit. There we go. And now that it's on, my phone,
Not selected. Page 14 of 16.
there you go. I don't know if you can hear it.
Not selected. Page 15 of 16. Not selected.
Can you hear that?
Not. Page 15. Radio waiver. Feedback 1 notification.
So I'll say the sound is not bad. Actually, it sounds good for glasses. And then on that right arm, we also have another strip just below those two buttons that I talked about earlier on. And you can use that. You can swipe left, swipe right, swipe up or down. Basically like a music playback control and things of that nature. Now let's talk about the fact that when you have it on and it's paired with the app, you can ask it questions. Now what happens is that if we open the app,
Bright AI.
BriteAI,
Bright AI. Live preview.
so now we're in the live preview. That's by the default. I'm going to describe what it has. Now, toward the bottom, we got 3 rows. The first row contains one button on the extreme left, and then an edit field, and then to the right of that is send. So, for example, on the left, we got speak message. I could tap on that to speak what I want. For example, if I don't want to touch the glasses. And then to the right of it
Edit box.
is the edit field, and then
Send message. Button.
there's a send message on the extreme right. Now, moving below that, we have the other row, and starting from the left, we got
Navigation. Button.
navigation. So if I'm walking somewhere, I will have to tap this, and then it'll be interacting with me and telling me where to go, or if there are any obstacles in front of me. And to the right of that,
Socializing. Button.
socializing, something we talked about. For example, basically it will recognize people or knowing what someone is doing if they are making faces, for example. And then to the right of that, reading. And if I tap on that reading, that would then make it possible for me to read what's going on. If I have a book or if I have a piece of paper with some print on it, I could read that. And then moving on to the right,
People. Button.
we have the people, and that's where you recognize people. And then the last button to the right is
All else. Button.
all else. I don't think you can hear the thing speaking through the speakers, through the glasses, but that's the last one. But below that, we have the tabs. And starting from the bottom left, we got
Camera. Button.
camera. To the right of that,
Help. Button.
we've got help. And the last button on the right here
Settings.
is settings. If I tap on this settings,
Settings. Account. Heading.
I'm just going to go quickly through the items found here in the settings. We got,
Work area and send now. Document.
there's my username there.
Activate. Renew or upgrade your service.
Activate, renew, or upgrade your service.
Shop. Shop smart glasses.
Shop smart glasses. You tap here, it'll take you to where you could shop the different glasses, including the M02 that I am demonstrating. And by the way, the M02 costs $120. That's $119. Moving on down,
Support. Contact us.
we got support, contact us. Moving on down,
Options. Heading.
we have the options heading, and below that we've got
Speak results. On. Switch.
speak results is turned on.
Use the speaker in the AI glasses if available. On. Switch.
Use the speaker in the AI glasses if available, and that's on.
Speech rate. 1.0x.
And we have the speech rate. You can change the speed at which you want it to speak. By default is 1x,
33% C-phone slider for speech rate.
and that's at 33%. Moving on down,
Live mode. Automatically feed images for processing. Warning. This will trigger automatic data processing that can rapidly consume your AI credits. Turn on with caution. Off. Switch.
we have the automatic preview. If you turn this on, by default it's off, but if you turn it on, it will eat into your credits. And so it's recommended that you only use that though when you really need that, because if you have it on and running, it basically is using your credits. Moving on down,
Auto image feed interval. For live mode on only. Ranges from 1 to 120 seconds.
so here we have the how long you want it to be giving you those live things that it sees. And by default, it's 15 seconds. You could change it to 1 second or whatever seconds you want. And moving on next.
12%. C-bar. Slider for auto image interval.
And that's the interval. So it's 12%. And moving on down.
Custom detection threshold. Identify detection if over threshold. Ranges from 50% to 95%.
We have the custom detection threshold. And by default, it's at 80. It can go as high as 95. Moving on down.
67%. C-bar. Slider for custom detection threshold.
And it says custom detection threshold. It's 67%. Moving on down.
Sample data. Heading.
We come across something that says sample data. Moving on down.
Export to another device.
Export to another device.
Import from another device.
And we got import from another device. So next,
About. Heading.
we have the about.
Version. 5.0.
Then we have the version.
Restore factory settings. Reset
And
after factory default settings.
then we have the restore to factory settings. And that's the last item there that we have in the settings. Now, let's talk about some of the things that I like and I don't like. Starting though with what I don't like is the fact that it does not have an inbuilt speech. So for example, if your phone is powered off and you turn this on, you're not going to hear anything besides the sound that it makes. Consequently, it requires that the phone be on, and not only be on, but in order to be able to do the things that you want to do, the phone screen has to be on. So if I have the phone powered on and for some reason I shut off the screen, it's not going to do anything for me. So for example, if I do this, let's try something.
Reading. Button.
I tap on
Reading.
reading, and I
Cannot provide the weather based on this image. The image displays a keyboard, an open box, and a box labeled Smart Glasses. There is no information about the weather visible in the image.
so it's telling me what it sees. And
Socialize.
so if I shut off the screen, or if I hit the button here, what do you see?
People. Button. People.
I tap people. Let's see what happens.
No person is detected.
It says no person is detected. And now that works just fine. But if you don't have that thing on, and for example, if I shut off the screen
Screen off.
and I hit this button, are there any people in front of me? It's not going to talk to me because my screen is off. Now, so some of those are the weaknesses of the glasses, and I hope that though in the second iteration that they may put something like a speech or a little mundane speech, or the ability to use it even when my phone screen is off. Another thing that I want to talk about is, for example, when I put it in the case. I got the case here, and I'm going to take the glasses off my face, and I'm going to hold it down to turn it off. I'm holding it down. There we go. It made ting, ting, ting. And here's the thing, though. If I put it back in the case, it comes back on. And putting it in the case, you can only put it one way. So you cannot put it in wrong. If you put it in and it's not going in, you just flip it over, and that should do it. So now I'm going to try to put it in. So there we are. I put it in, and you can hear that it turned it back on. So if I hit my phone, for example,
9:38 p.m. Device locked.
you can hear my phone talking from the case. So in order to be able to turn it off, you'll have to hold down the power on the glasses and then the power on the case. Because as I indicated earlier, you got the case, there's a power on one end, and then there's a charging port and a USB-C. Now, the charging is magnetic, as I indicated earlier. So if I want to turn this off, I need to hold down both that power on the glasses and the power on the case down together for a while to turn it off. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold it down until it makes that sound. There we go. Now, if I touch my phone,
9:39 p.m. Device lock.
now I can hear my phone because it's now been turned off. So that's how you use these glasses. Again, it's relatively cheaper when compared to the competition out there. However, there are some issues that it has, like what I have just described earlier on. But that would be, though, both the unboxing of the M02 and the review of the Brite AI app, the one that we had the developer back in episode 286. If you like what we're doing, do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until we see you again, have a good one. Well, that's what that one was. John, Kerry, and Sally, you guys have any comments about it? I know for me, my own beef about it was that it doesn't have just that mundane speech of its own. And I think for me, that's probably the biggest gripe.
Yeah, I personally don't have any experience with any glasses, smart glasses. So I assumed it'd be typical behavior for it not to work with the screen off, but from what you're saying, like, you can't do anything with the screen off. Like, it's not that you can't have your scene described with the screen off, but like, you can't even ask the time with the screen off or anything like that. So yeah, it does definitely seem like a con for as far as that goes.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an oversight, and I'm thinking probably in their next iteration of the glasses, they may have that implemented, but we'll see what happens.
So what's your experience with the accuracy and the quality of the scene descriptions and the answers that it gives you? Have you tried this? I mean, also like describing their surroundings and stuff, and answering your specific questions about certain parts of the scene, for example.
Yeah, with respect to what you just said, it does give responses to what you ask, and especially, let's say I'm trying to navigate out of some place, or I'm just trying to do mundane stuff, for example. But as far as the speed, it depends on that time. If you need quicker response, you want to make sure that you adjust it. But if you leave it, though, at that default, then it takes a little bit of a while to give you the response. So if you're going to be using it, I will suggest that one, adjust the response time. It's there, it's adjustable, and you could do that, and then it will be less frustrating. And I haven't tried other features like trying to recognize people or, things of that nature. The one I was trying to use especially were a couple, and that was trying to have it read something and also to navigate and see what it says. But you need to adjust that response time, for example, and that would make it better to use. So it's not too bad there. I just wish that it has its own onboard speech, for example, and doesn't have to have the screen on all the time. Because my thinking is, if you live in a bad city, I'm looking at some of you guys, bad cities out there. I don't want someone to snatch my phone from my hand because I'm trying to figure out something while I have my glasses on. I want to at least have my phone in a pocket and the glasses on my face and be able to walk around and do stuff. So yeah, that's my only gripe about it. All good things must end. Thus, it's curtain drawing time, bringing us to the close of this week's episode. Coming up, though, we give you information on how to get hold of us. Well, folks, we thank you so much for joining us. With that, though, we come to the end of today's episode. As always, John is standing by to give you information in the event that you want to get a hold of us. Here's John now to give you that information on how to get a hold of us. Here's John.
To contact us, simply send an email to contactus@blindandroidusers.com. If you'd prefer, you can leave a voicemail by calling +1 307 202 9797. You can join our mailing list by sending a blank email to Blind Android Users plus subscribe @groups.io. You can join our Facebook and Telegram groups or subscribe to our YouTube channel using the links in the podcast show notes or YouTube video description. And you can find all of this information and more at our website, blindandroidusers.com.
Thank you so much, John. And with that, we come to the end of episode 291. Hoping to see you guys next week. And don't forget that third quarter open listener session coming up on the 25th. And from me, I want to say goodbye. Happy July 4th. Have a barbecue on my behalf. And if you are in France, you are waiting for that Bastille Day. Yannick, don't forget to drink that French wine and the cheese. I'm not a cheese person and I'm not a wine person neither, but my wife loves both. So we have to come to your house just to have fun. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening, everybody. See you next week.
Have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Have a great week.
Thank you, guys. And it was again a pleasure to be here. And see you next week.
And give them a little greeting in French, shall we?
Yes, I can say au revoir.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Blind Android Users Podcast. Until we see you next week, don't forget to leave us your comments and suggestions via our email contact or using any of our social media sites. Have a great week.